So welcome. We'll get started. The idea here that I'd like to present in this short time this afternoon is around how we consume and navigate broadcast television or all kinds of video, actually all kinds of video content. What is television kind of content in the new era, and what is that like primarily in an on-demand world? So as we know what TV used to be, the old way, I always remember back to the old way TV used to be, where in the old days when there were a few channels and you would watch something and you would change the channel and then you repeat. That was really the cycle. It was that simple. That's all you did. But it's certainly more complicated than that today. The derivation of some of these ideas came from a project which I'll show you, which is, this is a movie and television download service from SanDisk, and the concept, it was called Take TV. And what you could do is, what you're seeing here is an online way that you could download content from the internet, from all kinds of sources. They were aggregating it together, and it would end up, you'd view some trailers like you're seeing here and some other things, and choose the things you wanted, and they would go onto the device. You'd take the device and plug it in the TV or any other kind of screen and watch it. So when we were talking with them, our primary assignment was working, in this case, on this application, which was how you got the content. But at the time, there was little time spent actually in the project on how you actually consume the content. And that's really the point of what we're getting at here. It's how can we make that sort of TV-like process, which is really simple, how can we make that apply to the on-demand viewing process? And I always say, and I'll wrap this up at the end, it's all about the metadata. So that's really an important item. The landscape for this is that the TV audience is clearly on the computer as well. The computer is a new factor, and the expectations are shifting because of that. I'd like to show you a few slides from a study, research study, funded by Nielsen that just recently came out through some work with the folks at Ball State University and some other groups. But really interesting study. This is their chart, and what I've done is I've sort of broken it down into something a little more clear. So basically, the blue stuff you're seeing there is the amount of screen activity during the course of a day, and it was a number of days for a number of people. So they actually studied how people consumed on screens. The 10-foot stuff is blue. The 2-foot stuff on your computer is orange. And the 1-foot is really mobile. So they called those two. There was another. They had environmental as well, but it was a very small sliver. So we'll not look at that for this case. But the going up and down, of course, you have your older folks at the top, moving down to the younger generation. So when you look at this, what they were surprised by was that still, even with the younger generation, there's a lot of consumption of television. But there are some trends here. I mean, the trend that you can see is, in time, is that over time, there's less actual 10-foot navigation of television content, and there's more expanding into, both mobile and clearly on the web as well. So I believe that the younger audience, which is the new audience, is really shifting primarily to consume content and things maybe other than the 10-foot experience. But it's still television. So there's this changing perspective on content as well with this emerging. We have kind of three new things. We've got new kinds of programming. What's a television show? What is that? And also, what are channels? Channels are a great metaphor from the past, and we've talked about in our company about using that as an idea for what the new consumption is. So we'll talk about that, and also new networks. I mean, all of those are sort of changing based on the behavior of the audience. We'll start with this new programming experience. Clearly, where in the old model I just started out with, that was just live TV. That used to be all we had years ago. But now you've got live TV, you've got on-demand, recorded stuff. You have kind of piecemeal things. We sort of snack on content as well. And certainly consumption on the web is a lot like that. So it's a fragmented experience. It's across various devices. And the notion we talk a lot in today's age of television is snacking, particularly in consuming on mobile devices and so on the web as well. So you're kind of looking at smaller pieces on there of content. The channel idea is very interesting. So I'd like to talk about what I call dynamic channels, which is almost the entire idea I'm presenting here in a sense. It's how you consume on-demand content in this new world. So I'm defining a channel as aggregated content in a context. And there are four primary contexts I'd like to present. One is time as a factor. The other is place, the location of where you are. Community. a very, very big one. And this one is clearly something that's been entering into the mainstream of television based on what we're doing online and on the web. And also the screen context. So context of time. For us, when we're working actually with some of the large cable companies, we're declaring this new way of achieving this sort of, it's not all about what's on right now. That's the first thing you go to. When the audience may want to know what's on now, what's on next. But there's a lot of other stuff going either direction. Clearly, there's sort of recent stuff. There's stuff I miss. You get caught up on shows. And that's that kind of hot stuff that's like within the last week, 2 weeks, a month. And then as you go further back in time, you really get the full on-demand, the sort of long tail of all the content that's available. So all of that kind of describes all that stuff, sort of based in a time layout. And then going forward in time, something important to the networks and the producers is how can they promote the new stuff that's coming so you know about it. So all of those, again, we start with systems that what they do is they start with now and next, and they expand out from there. So it's a whole broader thing based on time.